how this now, as let's say presumptive nominee Donald Trump and likely nominee Hillary Clinton, as they engage and as the electorate, in these ensuing months or ensuing weeks come together, you have to see sort of what people are saying. If people are recoiling at Donald Trump everywhere, then it doesn't matter who she picks for vice president. First of all, it doesn't matter anyways. Nobody votes for the vice president. But if she needs to appease people in order to get past something, then you go in that direction.
I do think, look, her choosing, theoretically, Elizabeth Warren, I think some progressives will be happy at that. I mean, I don't know enough about, I'm not the political historian that you are to know exactly, going back, how much influence they've actually had. I mean, there's cases like Dick Cheney where they seem to have had a lot of influence.
Well, they had influence once they were vice president.
Know.
Well, Joe Biden and the president are very close. I mean, for example, Donald Trump is going to pick somebody like a John Kasich who can go to Congress and knows how to navigate Congress, because he doesn't. George W. Bush knew very little. He thought by having a former secretary and chief of staff and a congressman in Dick Cheney that, hey, that's going to be somebody who's going to help me on the Hill. And that doesn't always work either. Barack Obama selected Rahm Emanuel to be his chief of staff. That was a disastrous pick. Yeah, he knew the Congress. Everyone in the Congress hated him. Yeah. So that's the wrong person to pick. He's from Illinois, and that happens sometimes too, like the president was. But when you look at what a vice president brings, you have to, let's say all of a sudden Donald Trump is doing so poorly that a state like Mississippi comes into play for the Democrats, which is not so far-fetched, right? Because they have a lot of black voters who are very active there. They have liberal white Democrats who are, the Democrats there are liberal white Democrats. They could go into Mississippi and say, hey, there might be somebody in this state, a former governor, a former congressman, Mike Espy. I'm just thinking out loud right now. None of these people are likely, but you look at a state like Mississippi and say, we might be able to pick that off and make the Republicans look bad and spread our Democratic message into a place like Mississippi.
Hey, Michael, this is Haley Barber.
Haley and Hillary.
So I think from Trump's point of view, him and Kasich have bickered less than Trump and most Republicans at this point, and it would help him with some Republicans. I think that choosing Elizabeth Warren some progressives would like that, but also, perhaps more importantly, and for the same reason that I said Ted Cruz made a good move by choosing Carly Fiorina, not that it was actually going to help him, but if you simply have now, not just Hillary, but Elizabeth Warren, Donald Trump, and he's salivating. He cannot not attack them in disgusting, low-down, brutal ways. Yeah. Two women who think they can be both president and vice president, he is going to break his phone tweeting insults at them. And that could theoretically lose him the election right there, because he has done worse when he's reminded people of what a despicable little child he is.
And his tweeting and childishness, and not to say that he's childish at all, Al Franken becomes appealing too, because he's somebody who could get into that repartee.
That's
true.
He's
a liberal senator from Minnesota. Very substantive, very smart, very liberal, very caustic when he wants to be.
Could needle him.
Yeah, we could play that game with him. But again, nobody cares about the vice president. The vice president and the presidential nominee don't get into it that much anyway. You didn't see Joe Biden and Mitt Romney going at it.
That's true, but I think with Trump and a female VP, or theoretically a Muslim VP, like that, she doesn't have to do anything. Yeah. He will do the damage to himself.
The chance, yes, but I would say it's unlikely. Just this is my gut speaking that two women are going to be on the same ticket when the Democrats feel like why take a risk if it's Donald Trump and you think he could win anyway? Don't do anything crazy. I think a lot of people would tell that to Hillary Clinton if she's the nominee, not to do anything crazy, because if you do something crazy, why mess with something that seems so automatic?
Yeah. So. What's the under-over on how many times, if it's a Elizabeth Warren, Hillary Clinton ticket, under-over how many times Trump mentioned his menstrual cycles?
Well, they're both post-menopausal, so probably not at all.
Yeah, they might skate by.
Yeah, they'll be fine.
Good point.
That's a good point. I didn't know that. Okay, so
I mean,
I hadn't thought of it. I don't see gender, Michael. Okay, I'm a millennial. Technically, look it up. Okay, so we're gonna have to extend the pimping until after this break, but we're gonna pimp out Eric Erickson and some of the other Republicans. Don't worry. Continue tweeting us at #TYT Live about the stories that we've already covered. What you think might have led John Kasich to leave the race, what he's going to spend his time on now. Let us know that. We'll be back after this break. Welcome back to the first hour of the Young Turks, everybody, with Shore and Door and myself breaking down the fallout from yesterday with both Ted Cruz and now John Kasich also leaving.
Jimmy and I were out in Hollywood together the other day.
Yes, we're out in Hollywood over at
the
pool at the Roosevelt.
Yeah, we were hanging at the pool at the Roosevelt.
Having a martini.
Nice. Sounds like fun.
No big deal.
Not a big deal.
Sounds like you're making a big deal out of it.
It was not a big deal.
Not a big deal.
Martini in Hollywood at the pool. The
Porcelain floors over there.
I got recognized 3 times, twice by someone I didn't know.
Once with Michael?
Yeah.
Okay, Michael. So we've got some tweets. Let's see. Sarah Johnson has a theory about why they released that Star Wars May the 4th ad. Says, I have to admit that it was actually a fun campaign ad. I bet they leaked it on purpose. LOL, all that hard work. He does seem like the sort of guy who, if you put in a lot of work in the ad, he's going to release it for you. He wants you to get something for that work. Let's see. Max Richards says, Elizabeth Warren is just trying to get us to forgive her for utterly failing us this election. She can go away now.
Oh!
So a lot of progressives frustrated that she did not. I mean, look, she didn't endorse Hillary, but she also didn't endorse Bernie, which could have mattered. I don't think that by itself would have flipped the numbers in any hugely significant way, but it would have mattered to some extent.
Maybe.
We'll never know now.
Maybe would have stopped some of that silly Bernie bro stuff.
Maybe.
That was being said. Maybe.
Although, it didn't seem to matter how many prominent women came out in support of him. The Bernie bro stuff continued.
It didn't seem to matter.
Didn't it? But I do fade a little. I felt like it faded a lot.
It was bad around Nevada.
Yeah.
It was really bad then.
I got an email just last week from some head of some activist organization about me being a mansplaining Bernie bro.
Right, I wouldn't go away, but I'm just saying that there was a real kind of...
There was a bigger push.
There was
even just yesterday, I'm not going to name names, but there's a blogger that I generally like, except when it's about this primary, who she's still pushing it. The whole thing was about Bernie Bros this, Bernie Bros that.
Oh, yeah?
Like, come on, seriously, you gotta move on.
Oh, wow. Really?
But anyway, Gabby Marita says, I want Elizabeth Warren on SCOTUS, not in a presidential administration. She can do more good as a justice.
You know, I think the Bernie... It's like Bernie supporters...
No Merrick Garland.
We still think that if we just get up Elizabeth Warren's ass just a little bit more, she's going to come around and support Bernie.
No, I don't think. I mean, she's going.
She's also a politician.
Yeah.
And there was a political calculus to what she was doing.
Yes, obviously.
There was a belief earlier on in her being an elected politician that maybe she would not be such an elected politician. I had the same hopes about Al Franken early on.
Yes, we all did.
But Al Franken had to do. I mean, he barely got in, right?
Yeah.
He won by like a 2, and he won in April, so it took him forever to get it.
Yeah.
And he also had to shake not just being liberal, but he had to shake being the guy from Saturday Night Live, and he'll have to do this too.
Yeah, an idiot.
Yeah, and did a lot of blow in the '70s around the writers' table. I mean, so there's that part of what he had to shake as well. So I think that there's a, that's what you have to look at with Al Franken. But I mean, right? Isn't that what every account? I don't know if Al, but he was there, right? Every account of Saturday Night Live that's what was going on. There was a time, and he and Tom Davis and everybody else were there. I shouldn't accuse by association, but he was there.
So I also want to thank, before we get back on the news, and we do have more news for you, I want to thank 2 of our members. Member number 1931, Mohit Bake, thank you, and member number 1180, Sean Ferris. I wonder if it's the Sean Ferris I'm thinking of from Twitter.
It must be. That guy's, he's great. He's on Twitter. I see him. He tweets me. No complaints about me yet? No complaints about
No complaint. I mean, I have complaints that I can
too
make,
much
but I don't
history,
see.
or not from the. That's too bad.
Ashley Prather just said John Kasich left the race to host a food TV show. Food Towards Kasich.
Right. Well,
It's not impossible. If you can go from reality TV to politics, why not the other way?
You know how quickly he would get a show if he wanted that?
He should do it.
He should do it.
He's a nice enough guy.
Yeah.
He can just chop up the food at the beginning of the show.
I was thinking of doing a camp, like, we in the dying days of Al Jazeera, like, what we do now, but a campaign food show would be fantastic, because you go all over America, where they have Louisiana great food, even Iowa, they have big cutlet sandwiches and kind of the crazy. Did you have a cutlet sandwich?
I did not.
Iowa? You should have, but they're like this big. Yeah, they're good.
You should pitch it for the next election.
I will. That's what I'm going to pitch with John Kasich.
There you go.
Chris Christie actually...
He couldn't get away from it.
No, you don't even need to make the joke.
I think it's done. Right. It's done.
He has a cooking show. It's called The Art of the Meal, right?
Thank God. Okay, let's jump to the reaction from the other side. Many on the right are not that happy that Donald Trump appears to have sewn up this whole primary thing. It looks like he's probably going to be the Republican nominee unless there's some delegate madness at the convention. And they've been saying for a while that they're #NeverTrump, and they are sticking with it. Some of the most prominent ones, anyway. Eric Erickson said, if Trump is the Republican Party nominee, I won't be a Republican. I'm not down with white supremacists. I'd have to check his past quotes. If Republicans in 2016 are unwilling to draw a line and refuse to support Trump with what we know about him, I do not find it plausible that the GOP would reject another David Duke should he ever advance to Trump's position. We will never know, perhaps. David Duke's getting up there.
This is so funny.
That they're
just like Eric Erickson.
Yeah.
The bottom, he's like a bottom feeder.
Donald Trump has been pretty brutal to Eric Erickson in the past.
Yeah, but this guy's... He was the king misogynist of the party until Donald Trump came, and all of a sudden he's a defender of women.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing that Eric Erickson, of all people, this guy. Right there.
Yeah. What a jerk. He threw his own, by the way, threw his own mother under the bus to make a fucking racist tweet about Asians. He did. I covered it on the Jimmy Dore show.
Yes, I saw that.
YouTube.com.
On the what?
Jimmy Stories that his mom used to tell.
YouTube.com/The Jimmy Dore Show. We're doing an Indiegogo funding right now.
There you go.
Don't freak out. Get your Don't Freak Out.
If there's any way to get people to a website, tell them there's an Indiegogo funding.
I've got a message board on my website. Go check it out, everybody.
Yeah, right.
You can't give me any money, and I don't expect it.
I have some Amway products.
Okay. So we've also got Philip Klein of the Washington Examiner saying I've officially deregistered as a Republican. We've got Lachlan Markay of the Free Beacon, formerly of Heritage, burning registration paperwork. So I think that's a crime, actually. And finally, John Cook of Gawker saying pigs may fly, hell may freeze over, and I, a lifelong GOPer, will never unite behind the orange menace. Hashtag never Trump.
No one really mentions. First of all, I'll say it again. His biggest achievement is to get people to stop talking about his hair. He did that. But no one talks about
by having that woman touch it that day. Say it was real.
No one talks about it anymore.
I can't even see his hair past his tiny little hands.
His tiny little hands. It's hard to see how he can even hold
also,
up.
they're terribly. Yeah. His rhythm is awful when he uses them.
Have you seen him hold a bottle?
Yeah.
It just doesn't
His
look right.
tiny hands is
scale-wise.
But if you look at his head from the back, it's like someone ironed it. It's like he has a barn door for the back. Yeah. It's not like a normal hair. So, but it is like he's eating Cheetos, and right before he comes on, he wipes his face with his hands.
Yeah, in a
comes
circle,
out.
literally.
And nobody is bringing that up.
Well,
the sun hits Mar-a-Lago perfectly.
Yeah, he just has like a porthole window, and he just puts his face right in it. I understand that we're not supposed to be focused on physical appearance, and I totally get why.
But he has
exactly. It's not like we're saying, oh, his big dumb ears. This is something he's doing to trick us into thinking he's someone that he's not. And yes, all politicians do it, but they do it more artfully than Donald Trump. And it's a sign that, as with so many other things, he doesn't have or trust advisors. He doesn't put people around him who can say, your face looks like a goddamn joke, what are you doing? He's surrounded himself by sycophants who are not going to question what he's doing.
Right.
And that's why you end up with the horrific mask that he has of orange.
John, so that I don't get out of touch, I actually have a guy like that in my entourage who every day he says, what the fuck is going on with your face? I gotta tell you, it doesn't seem to be helping.
It's not. No?
Not.
Yeah.
This makes me feel bad.
Or you're not listening. One or the other.
It's like, I start every day with a good cry. Let's just put it that way.
Yes. Friends and family cause us to cry. Okay, so this is just a sampling. There are a lot of other people in the media who are never Trump. They're not going to support him, which also means he's not going to get the free publicity from them. I have a feeling that the media is going to give him plenty, as long as he's allowed to call into these news shows every morning, one a day. So how much can this hurt Trump? Does it matter that he's never Trump? Or can he spin this as, I'm against the establishment, oh, look, the establishment doesn't like me?
Good.
Does it matter long term?
It hasn't mattered yet, and he got through a Republican primary where it hasn't mattered. So in a general election, it probably won't matter. It may matter at the convention. Even if he has the requisite number of delegates, it doesn't mean that the convention's not still going to be ugly, and there aren't still going to be plays for those delegates, and there aren't, that first ballot, they're pledged, they're, bound to do that, but bound by whom? By the rules of the party that doesn't want him to be the nominee.
And not even all of them.
And not even all of them. So, I mean, I'm not predicting Armageddon, but there's a sense that that's where it will matter. That's its last chance of mattering. But once the general starts, it only matters because it gets people to stay home or not vote. But, the more that admirable people like Eric Erickson see Hillary Clinton out there, not just see Hillary Clinton campaigning, but see, and then nobody's talking about this, you have a popular president right now. His numbers are as high as they've been in a while, let's say. He's going to be a great surrogate for Hillary Clinton.
That's true. I haven't thinking about it.
And he is going to change the equation of this election. And when he's out there talking, it's going to give the Republicans more fodder and more, I would say,
more reason to coalesce behind Trump.
Exactly.
Maybe. And also, look,
it works two ways.
Look, Obama, his public speaking, his statements when he's not in campaign mode can be a bit of a snooze. But when he goes out there on the campaign trail, he fires people up. And we've seen multiple times he is great at making Donald Trump look like a buffoon.
Yes.
And so you just got me excited. I'm kind of looking forward to it.
Regardless of who nobody is talking about that surrogate. It's going to be, now he can, once there's a nominee, once the Sanders-Clinton election is over, he can step up and whoever it is that wins it, he can just, he can be the best surrogate in America.
Yeah. And I just want to make one more point before we move on. It's just, what are these, again, what I started with, what are they upset about? That nobody's saying that it's the policies. I can't stand behind this policy. No one's saying, they're just saying Donald Trump. They're not saying, because we've all said this before, he's the Frankenstein they created. This is what happens after 35, 40 years of the Southern strategy, that the last 2 out of the last 3 RNC chairmen have apologized for. Yeah. That's what this is. This isn't made up. That when Colin Powell says my party's full of racists, he's not making it up. When Bruce Bartlett says that they're the wackadoo party, he's not making it up. right? This is the result. What are you guys? So that's why you see in this. Nobody's saying, "Oh, I can't get behind this kind of policy or his foreign policy outlook or this kind of change to our tax structure or nothing." No one's saying anything against his positions. They're just saying it against him. So that's what's really also revealing because they can't say what it is that they're against. They're just against him.
I think it's to some extent what we might see if Bernie was in as commanding a position as Trump is from some Democrats, that you always want, as the power over the party, you want that fervor amongst the people, you want the popular support, you want the enthusiasm, but you want that to then be channeled through somebody you think you can work
with. John, you're right. I mean, I disagree with you on that. And Bernie is not to the Democrats as Trump is to
No, I'm not saying it's the same thing. That's the closest thing we have. Like Hillary, obviously.
Yeah, and no, I mean, I think Democrats of all stripes would fall in, most of them, like they would. They would fall in behind Bernie Sanders. You know, I think especially against Donald Trump.
Yeah, I mainly mean that I think they want that crazy in the voters. They want them to be driven by. I know that this is my bias or whatever, but xenophobia and all of that, hatred of communism, but then they want that to go towards supporting candidates they like. They don't want one of those people in a billionaire orange-faced form to then run and win.
Right.
I want to make the point again that we're all talking as if it's certainly, definitely, 100% Hillary the nominee.
No, I'm not trying
I haven't said that either. I just
saying
think whoever it is, whether it's Sanders or
right. Okay,
the probability is that it's going to be Clinton.
Well, actually, we're about to turn to that right now. Why don't we have that conversation?
Oh, well, let me just shut up.
No. I'm just going to pimp you for 1 second. Hold on. Okay.
Pimping today is out of control.
We're pimping, man. Turns out, easier than I was led to believe.
Yeah.
Anyway. So with
I've only known that in college.
Yeah,
wait till you have to keep them busy.
Yeah, wait till the bitches get here and you have to keep them in line. That's when it gets tough, Johnny.
Listen to this Bernie bro.
That's the pimp. He's talking about pimping.
Yeah, but I'm pimping a man. That makes it okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay. With the Republican side of this primary season mostly wrapped up, barring some shenanigans at the convention, let's turn to the Democratic side and what effect Trump being the presumptive nominee might have on the Democratic side. So you might think, well, I mean, how closely connected can they be? They're totally separate sides. They're not running against each other yet. But I've been doing my research and I've been doing my thinking, and I think there are a few ways that Cruz leaving and Kasich leaving could actually impact Bernie versus Hillary in the remaining contest. So one is that while Trump has not been shy about attacking Hillary Clinton up until now, he has also had to spend a lot of his time attacking Ted Cruz, especially sometimes Ted Cruz's wife, John Kasich.
You mean Lion Ted?
Lion Ted, exactly. Sorry, his name has been changed since then. So attacking Lion Ted, but now he doesn't need to attack Lion Ted. He's going to attack the one person he thinks he's going to be running against, which is Hillary Clinton.
Crooked
Hillary. Sorry, her name also changed. I forgot. So look, I'm not saying that his attacks are going to be substantive and they're going to convince people to change who they support. And in fact, they might even be they might work against him because it might lead other Democrats to think, oh, well, look at his unfair, likely, very sexist attacks. I know everybody says that about every attack against Hillary Clinton, but with Donald Trump, it's true. That might impact the balance a bit. That Donald Trump's attention will be all on Hillary. Bernie Sanders might then not have to do as much attacking. I don't know. And
well, I agree. It does change a little bit of but here's what's interesting. This is how it helps Bernie Sanders, with Donald Trump being alone. In these open primaries, Republicans and independents who would have voted against Donald Trump can now vote against Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, whether they actually like Ted Cruz or not.
Yeah, they're going to want it because part of what they're doing is voting against Hillary Clinton, a lot of them anyway. So that opens up a whole new. I mean, it's not. I don't think it's difference making, but if you look at a small swath of people who do that to disrupt what's going on, that can only help Senator Sanders.
Well, can I? No, because
go crazy.
Can you check with me first?
We're gonna turn the key at the same time. What's up?
I think this can help Bernie Sanders going forward because I lost my thought again because we started bullshitting.
We just said disagree with us. We just said it's going to help Sanders. Disagree with us.
Yeah. I do think that. I think that it will.
I think it will too.
Yeah.
So what if she doesn't win another primary going forward? I mean,
it's also possible.
I mean, talk about a damaged That's really
brain damage candidate. You're saying?
And what do you say about that? I mean, so you know, people want to vote against the establishment. They're all going to now. They have only one person. I mean, I guess they can vote for Trump, but that's.
I just said this.
Yeah.
So he thinks that a lot of the people who would have gone in to cast a vote against Trump, and we know there's a lot of Democrats, a lot of liberals, and a lot of independents who hate him and want to do that. Now they will be freed up to vote for Bernie. Now, there aren't a lot of open primaries left, but California is mixed, and even a couple of percentage points in a state as large and as consequential as California, that could matter a lot.
Yeah.
Well, if what the big fear is that Donald Trump might become president, and that's everybody's big fear. What I say is Bernie Sanders just won in Indiana. He might win all the way through to the convention. And I say, if you're really afraid of a Donald Trump presidency, vote for Bernie Sanders, because he's the one who would. He doesn't have half the vulnerabilities that Hillary Clinton. We've showed it. It's manifest that she is not only a flawed candidate, she's a horrible candidate, and she's a bad politician. She's not a good politician. Yes, she knows how to be friendly with Republicans, but that doesn't mean she's a good politician. That just means that she knows how to make friends with her enemies. Which, by the way, they still hate her. And they impeached her husband after he deregulated Wall Street for him. That's how much they like the Clintons. So, if you really want to get rid of Donald Trump, and if you're really afraid of Donald Trump, the vote is for Bernie Sanders. That's clear. And he still does have a chance to win. He won last night. He might win all the way to the convention. Again, don't forget that she is my favorite presidential candidate who's potentially under indictment.
She still has that honor.
Still has that going. So, I think it's important, really, I'm still going to phone bank for Bernie. I'm going to give my vote to Bernie. I think it's important to vote for Bernie and stay positive. Okay, thank you.
And look, Bernie has said he's going to the convention. His campaign has said there will be a contested convention. Now, that's not 100% up to them at the end of the day. But that's what he's saying. And a couple of months almost of hardcore attacks against Hillary Clinton from Trump, combined with the likelihood that at least some of the remaining contests will go to Bernie, could put it in a situation where she needs the superdelegates to put her over the top.
Yes.
If she's doing much worse against them. Look, I think that the Democratic Party is willing to take that chance.
I agree.
Unfortunately. But it's not impossible that they could look at the numbers and look at the polls, even though, as Michael says, the polls are not destiny at this point, and they could then figure out, well, maybe not. And especially, that's another month or two of, we just found out that some of the aides of Hillary Clinton are going to be brought in to testify on the email case. They haven't decided yet on Hillary Clinton, but it's not impossible that in the next 2 months they could. That's also possible. So one other thing, too, is that I think could help Bernie.
Okay. So you think voting in California is going to matter?
I think that the vote will matter in California. It's
I might not vote this time.
Why not?
Well, because I don't think that I'm supposed to. I think that I've been doing this.
Get out of here. You're an American first, a journalist second.
All right,
I'm
an American first.
Well,
I want to vote. I've never not voted ever in any election. I was a young Turk first. I've never not voted in any election since I turned 18.
Yeah.
Every little.
Me too. I voted.
I'm sure you have.
Aren't you upset? Well, why do you think there isn't more of an upsetness, or there isn't more outcry from the Democrats in general? I'm not talking about the super lefties. I'm talking about in general. Why aren't they upset that they haven't been presented with a better candidate? Why isn't there a little bit of a revolt of regular Democrats saying, really? This is what we get, the candidate with the highest negatives in history? This is what we're left with? Someone who's an emblem for what's wrong with politics today? We can't get anything better than
that? I think they're, Jimmy, I think the Democrats, I've spoken to Democrats I know, think they have two great choices. They have that people who like Hillary Clinton really like her. People who are more progressive and like this revolution idea love Bernie Sanders. It's kind of a good choice for Democrats. It doesn't. It's the problem is when there's a nominee who the other ones don't like. I mean, I think more Hillary people are okay with Bernie than Bernie people are with Hillary at this point, and that's where it becomes. But in terms of the choice among Democrats, I think there are a lot of Democrats that are really excited to vote for Bernie Sanders, obviously, and I think there are Democrats who voted for Hillary Clinton in big numbers last time that want to do it this time too. So I think that it's going to be the problem is when there's a nominee, and that's where the choice becomes difficult.
I think what was happening, I forget, a gentleman emailed me and sent me a link to a blog, and I forget whose it was, but he makes the case that
it's a gentleman.
Yes, it was a gentleman
and a scholar.
That tied in with the OJ trial, with what was on the People versus OJ, which I was watching. And so what happened in that trial was that there was jury nullification, right? They're like, hey, OJ might be guilty, whatever. We're blocking all that information out because it was presented by this corrupt system in which is manifest in the racist Mark Furman. So we're going to do the jury nullification against the whole system. So this guy made the case that that's what the Hillary voters are doing because they see the glass ceiling as a real thing and that they want to break that. They want to break through that, and so they're going to block out all the other information. And that's when you hear, hey, she's also a great candidate, even though to people like me, she's the worst candidate we've ever been presented with as a grown-up, and that she's the emblem of actually what's wrong with politics.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think some Democrats aren't driven by our core concerns about the problem with politics, and they look at her and they look at her compared to I don't know, kind of to Obama, who also turned out to not be as liberal as we thought on a lot of issues. They look at compared to Kerry, compared to Bill Clinton. I mean, is she much more conservative than Bill Clinton? I don't know. No, I mean, look, he had some incredibly conservative politics.
Yes.
So when you look at her and you think about the fundamental problems we have with our politics, you get really scared. When you look at her and you compare her to the other people that we've had as candidates, it's like, I guess, I don't know. Okay. There's one other thing, though, really fast, that I think could help Bernie, and it's that the media now has been suckling on the attention that they've gotten, the nonstop coverage of these campaigns. A lot of that is Donald Trump-centric. He is now going to be talking about the Democrats, which means that the coverage, even the Trump coverage, is going to be about the Democrats. There's no more fully Republican news to cover just yet. That means if they want to fill hours of news with primary coverage, which they do, it is going to be about the Democrats. They didn't want that to be competitive a few weeks ago, but now they're going to need it to fill time and to bring in viewers. And I believe that whenever the Democrats, when Bernie and Hillary are being discussed, that's a good thing for Bernie because more people already know Hillary Clinton. Yes. So if suddenly now they're covering the Democratic town halls, if they're actually covering Bernie rallies, if they're getting his message across simply to fill the time, that could be a very good thing for Bernie Sanders going forward with the remaining.
Well, as we saw last night, Bernie Sanders won Indiana. Mm-hmm. So there he goes. He's winning again. All he's doing is winning. And they showed the empty podium for Hillary Clinton and the empty podium for Donald Trump. All the way through his speech. Didn't even go, hey, by the way, they even put him in the corner like, hey, there's actually a speech going about the guy who won tonight.
There were two podiums on the screen at the same time.
Two empty podiums.
Does that make them podia?
I think it does. Yeah. Podia. It's John Podia.
John Podia.
Yeah.
Well, here's one thing I will say, as I, speaking with other people in the press corps, Bernie's got to shake that speech up a little bit too.
Yeah, look, even us, who
I'm just saying, anyway,
roughly the same speech.
It's roughly the same. It's like hearing the same thing every time. So, but no, I'm not defending
the millionaires and billionaires.
$27.
Every once in a while, he'll shake it up with like a bird or something.
Right, that's always
cool.
Yeah.
Get a cat. But yeah, a lot of people in California haven't heard that speech.
No, that's true. And that's what we said every speech. Every time, every new state. It's like, it's a new speech. There's a new, there's a new audience.
Yeah. 27 also Bernie's Social Security number, and not a lot of people know that.
Nice.
Wow. I tried to turn that into a Chris Christie joke, but the number's too small.
Yeah.
But anyway, so unfortunately that's the end of the first hour. We're going to have to cut it short. The election has taken over.
A real skinny guy stood next to Chris Christie one time, and they thought that it was the number 10.
He just did there.
Oh, but he was on his left. I got you.
Depends on looking at.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah, it depends on where you. Yeah. So unfortunately, we didn't get time to get to the Fort McMurray fire. Look it up. Absolute chaos in northern Alberta. An entire city having to be evacuated as a result of this wildfire. Over 1,600 structures had already been burned by the time we got to the beginning of the show. So major problem there. Take a look at that.
Skinny guy's like the one. The skinny guy's the one, and then
then who's the?
He's like this.
Because
he's like the big
physical size.
Yeah, it's like so they're like a 10.
Get it? It's a spatial joke.
Like you're looking at the camera.
Okay.
I thought it was Michael Jackson's I.O. album.
Okay.
Sorry.
Thank you, Jimmy Dore, for joining us in the first hour. Michael Shore, never around as much as he should be.
Thank you.
One of the original Turks. Always great to talk politics with you, both of you guys. The second hour is fast approaching. Continue to tweet us at #TYT Live, and it's going to read some of those when we come back.
And Kim Horcher
and Brett Ehrlich are going to be here. Kim Horcher, host of Nerdler for May the 4th, Star Wars Day. You're going to get a Star Wars host in the second hour.
It's disappointing that Brett's going to be on the show.
It is always just going to ruin it.
It's a little disappointing. I don't like the comedy with the news. It's
distracting. You want
that's why we don't have it here.
We don't.
I just let it be in the second hour.
Thank you, Mike. Try, but as long as they don't hit it regularly, we're fine with them.
Thank you very much. A lot of people are like, Jimmy, why aren't you funny around the show? I'm like, it's news. There's a time and place for everything.
That's exactly right. You got to be serious. You got to be the straight man sometimes.
That's right. You got to be the straight man.
Yeah, that's what I built a multi-billion-dollar wall between the two. Okay, we got in the first hour. Thank you for joining me, guys.
We're going to take a break. Last the Jimmy Dore show. You got to rewind.
Also that. You got a couple of minutes.
Yeah, but I need to go someplace where I can get money.
There you go. Where is such a place? You're going to find out. Go check his channel out, and we'll see you in just a few.
There's a progressive revolution happening right now in America, and the corporate media is doing their damnedest to ignore it. But we at the Jimmy Dore Show will not be ignored. We question power. People are sick and tired of corporate stooges like you. We do it with passion. Are you kidding me? And we do it with laughs. I don't think estates have two cars that don't work in the driveway.
That's it. Thank you.
Our show is now heard nationwide on the Pacifica Network, and it's heard around the world on the Young Turks Network. We've been able to travel, go to Iowa caucus. So we saw a guy about 5 minutes ago. We saw another guy. We went to Nevada. We actually broke real news. The chairman of the caucus right there, he's copying it off of his hand that was picked up by other news sites, because corporate news isn't on the ground anymore doing their job. So we're asking you now to donate to our Indiegogo campaign. We've got all kinds of great perks at all levels of donations. We've got Don't Freak Out t-shirts that everyone has been asking for. We want you to be part of it. Help us build it, and we'll build a progressive revolution together. We're doing this show because our country has a chance. I almost said to be great again. We want to make America great again.
He's so progressive, he recycles his thoughts. His car cleans the air. He prosecuted a bank executive and won. His idea of Social Security is old people being able to survive. When he builds a bridge, it bridges the income inequality gap. The only campaign contribution he'll accept is your vote. He's the most progressive man in the world.
Not all Democrats are created equal. Support bold progressives, my friends.
Welcome to our members-only postgame.
I promise you're gonna love it.
Oh, that's right. We have something awesome. You faked an orgasm, and you faked an orgasm, and you all faked an orgasm.
No, the guys. No. It's easy. Things I do when I'm hot. Go do it. Do it. You don't destroy ISIS. It's just gonna pop up with something else.
She said something else. Well, that bitch had it coming.
You can only have sex with the same person so many times. I'm going to show you a video I shot while hot.
I'm kidding. I'm doing fine.
That's the post game.
Listen, fuck away from my man.
Can't bear it. They're hard ass. I stopped watching them today. They're so fun. It's interesting how different the two genders are.
If I am in a relationship where I'm trying to be sexy, well, then I'm just be naked.
I am very into board games and board game culture.
Not that I don't want to get married, if I don't want to marry you.
I take board games.
I don't even know if I'm supposed to be sharing this.
Oh, Rudy. Embarrassing.
I'm going to say something that's insanely inappropriate.
Strip away the gold, the ornaments, knock down the statues and the pillars, and this is what remains.
If Melisandre brings him back to life and he owes her one, they should have sex immediately.
I wish you good fortune. the wars to come.
So he turns out he'll learn that he's Rhaegar and Lyanna's kid, and that he is the just heir to the Seven Kingdoms. And they'll be like, I took a vow.
Yeah.
Let those boys, they will grab it for you. They will rub you. It's like what, the candle maker's daughter or something?
The kennel master.
Oh, the kennel master. I thought they kept saying
candle
candle master.
I love Varys. If they kill Varys, I'm going to lose my mind.
Is that Valerian there too?
It would, I believe, be old Gistari or possibly Myrnes.
They could be almost
You are not free. You are Theon Greyjoy. You are the sunrise. She's trying to build him up.
Hey, Corey. Want to be internet songs? Want to play Imagination? Fuck yeah, sweet. Who do you want to be? Anna Casparian. Again, I sure connect with the character. You know, I have an insatiable hunger for information and truth. I care about the way politics run in our country. Harry about the heels. Want to take a picture for the footballs? That makes me drink the camera's rolling. Sound speeds coming in at 5, 4, 3.
Welcome, everybody. Hi, everybody. We're on TYT. Brett Ehrlich, Kim Horcher, TYT Network stars joining me for the panel today.
May the 4th be with you, Anna.
May the 4th be with you.
I know you don't like that stuff, but
It's not that I don't like it. It's just that I don't care about it, and so
Yeah.
I got
That does.
into an argument with Johnny Pye today because
did he pull this too?
in the production meeting he was like, "Oh, you know, it's Star Wars Day, and we should do a story about
John's voice.
we should do Star Wars coverage." Like, what does that even mean? I don't want to do Star Wars coverage.
It seems to
It's
me.
a big fan day.
I know, but what's the story? Like, we do stories.
The story is. Oh, come on. Every story every day is the same on the Young Turks. The poor are losing. The rich are winning. Why don't we vary it up? It's the same within the Star Wars community. It never changes, but that doesn't mean you don't stop caring about it.
Stop.
Yeah, the wars.
Star Wars.
I guess it really depends on what people find newsworthy.
Here's the thing. What I like is that you don't like It's not that you don't like Star Wars. It's you don't care about Star Wars.
Right.
But that makes people who like Star Wars not like you.
I know, which is amazing. It's not like I dislike Star Wars. Star Wars is cool.
Yeah, no, I get it. It just doesn't make you go like, let me know more. It's just
Right.
like, oh, I saw the movies. I also saw a bunch of other movies. It makes me want to talk about movies maybe more than it makes me want to talk about
Right.
Yeah, let's just see what's a flick.
It's
Yeah.
interesting though how some movies become a culture, right? and other movies don't. So, for instance, for me, one of my favorite movies is Revolutionary Road.
Wait,
I don't know if you guys have seen that.
isn't that
Yeah.
really depressing?
Yes, it was a great movie.
Oh, it's really depressing.
Okay, first of all, Kate Winslet's performance in that movie was spectacular.
Mhm.
Yes, it was a depressing movie. However, it touched upon a social issue at the time involving, equality for women, their ability to live out their destiny or create their own destiny. There were reproductive rights issues touched upon in that movie. Like, it was just, for me, it touched on so many different topics that I feel passionately about. So I love the movie, but I'm not like running around like wearing a Kate Winslet mask, like losing my shit at a Kate Winslet convention.
That's funny. My friend and I are having.
I mean, you could.
You could
No one's
absolutely do
stopping
that. I want to see the expanded Revolutionary Roadiverse. I want to see spin-offs about.
I want to feel bad for not knowing anything about this.
Oh, Leo DiCaprio's in it, right?
Hallmark.
They get back together. I like to think of that as like a weird,
Titanic 2.
Titanic 2. And isn't there like a car thing, or is that the other one with Mark Ruffalo?
Oh, yes, that's the other one.
Okay, that's the other
Titanic
one.
2.
I did not like that movie.
See,
I love Mark Ruffalo, though.
I think the way I feel about Revolutionary Road and this other movie is the same way people who can't tell the difference between Star Wars and Star Trek feel.
Look,
Like
those
space guns.
they just both have star. They're very different series. One would be space fantasy and one would be true sci-fi, but they're exceedingly different. I don't know why they're always mentioned in the same conversation.
Oh my
I'm
God.
sorry.
Yeah.
And I can feel you
I can't.
losing you right now.
Wake up. Wake up. People are like, tell me more about broken penises or whatever you're going to talk about in the second hour.
Get out of here. All right, we do have some stories for you guys.
Sorry. I
Many
mean,
of which are important.
It's a Pop Trigger joke, I guess. We talk about broken penises. Subscribe to Pop Trigger right now.
All right, guys, so let's get started with some of the news today. Researchers from Johns Hopkins University did an extensive study looking at the issues of medical errors and the number of lives that are lost in the United States every year because of these errors. Now, these errors include people who go to the hospital to get treatment for one thing or another, or to have surgery for one thing or another, and then unfortunately, because they're in the hospital and because of either negligence or other errors, they suffer consequences not even related to why they were in the hospital in the first place. So the medical errors in hospitals and other healthcare facilities are incredibly common and may now be the third leading cause of death in the United States, claiming 251,000 lives every year, more than respiratory disease, accidents, stroke, and Alzheimer's. So the person who led this study is Martin McCary, and his research involves a more comprehensive analysis of 4 large studies, including one by Health and Human Services Department's Office of the Inspector General and the Agency for Healthcare Research and Quality that took place between 2000 and 2008. His calculation of the 251,000 deaths equates to nearly 700 deaths a day, about 9.5% of all deaths annually in the United States. So I give you those details because I think it's important to show you that this wasn't just done by some schmuck. This was done by researchers who looked at 4 studies and came up with this conclusion. And these researchers are from Johns Hopkins University, as I mentioned before. So the results are pretty devastating. And this is one of the stories where, we come across a problem and I'm not quite sure what the solution is. And it seems like the researchers don't have so many solutions either. One of the problems that they bring up is that there isn't like a standardized way of preventing these errors. So you have, let's say, the aviation industry, and there are standardized ways to ensure that people don't die, right? And they're saying that you don't have like a uniform policy for hospitals throughout the country. I don't know how true that is, but that was one of the issues that they brought up.
Yeah, it's really tough.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how you fix it either. I am confident that there are very few, if any, medical professionals out there who go to work saying, I want the hospital to fail the patient.
Of course.
So I don't think that that's the problem. I think it is hospital to hospital. It's difficult. There are hospitals that are very reputable that are still training people that are still training, medical students on how to perform medical procedures and the like. And so it leads to that. There was one study that came out years ago that really first brought this to the forefront. And since then, they say that the one major stride that's been made is in preventing infections that happen at the hospital. So that is one thing. But the other side of it is, this is also known as a litigious society. Mm-hmm. If you talk to any doctor out there whatsoever, and I have many friends who are doctors, it's the malpractice insurance is astronomical.
Right.
And while some studies say that it's come down over the last 10 years, it's still, it's tough. So why would you admit when you've done wrong if you've done wrong from a financial point of view? Of course, there's the Hippocratic Oath, but, there are these things that we have to at least call out, even if we're not accusing anyone of them, to say that that's part of the dynamic, that we need to find a way that reinforces our priority is health. Our priority is not getting you in trouble. We just need to fix this, even if it may be uncomfortable or embarrassing for us.
So yes, that was another thing, and I'm glad that you brought that up. One of the other issues the researchers brought up is if there are mistakes made in other industries, let's say aviation, those mistakes have to be reported. And one of the reasons why they report it isn't just to get people in trouble, it's to prevent those mistakes or those errors from happening in the future. And apparently there is a lack of transparency in the medical field when it comes to these issues. So again, look, I don't think that any of these errors are done because of malicious intent. This is not to blame doctors or nurses or to, demonize them in any way. They have difficult jobs. But at the same time, mistakes happen in every job, and the best thing that you can do is find strategies in preventing it from happening.
Well, on that note of it being the bottom line, having to pay attention to financial repercussions, it is deeply a financial problem on the other end. A lot of these places were found to be understaffed, under-resourced in terms of being able to take care of many patients at one time, but also having someone like a patient advocate or someone to monitor what is going on. In this report, we also had consumer reports saying that after investigating California licensing records, they found many doctors that were practicing were actually on probation for serious violations of patient safety. So no one is paying attention to that either. So I think there needs to be a bolstering of resources, but we also need to pay attention to that.
It's so tough because there's so many layers to what goes into the process of getting treatment. And anybody who has changed doctors knows that it just seems intuitive that my record should be somewhere.
Yes.
But I don't know how to find them. I don't know how to get them to a new person. I don't know when I got a tetanus shot.
What's really interesting is there are a lot of issues in the medical industry that, we need to deal with. One of them is, there's millennials got surveyed about, the healthcare industry and what they demand, what they want changed about the healthcare industry. And one thing was transparency about the cost of the procedures up front, right? So sometimes you have a procedure done. Yes, I know I'm going off on a tangent. I apologize. You have a procedure done, and then all of a sudden you get a bill in the mail for like $500, and you're like, "Yo, I just went in for a pap smear. What happened?"
Tell me about
it. And so the fact that people are defensive against that demand in the medical industry is hilarious to me. Yeah, you want to know the price of something before you buy it, right? Anyway, that's a completely different issue.
That's real. I went in because I had vertigo, and the person did what sounded like a BS process on me, which involves laying you back, turning your head, and moving forward. And I went to the end, and it's a real it sounds like witchcraft, but it's actually a thing they do with some crystals in your brain. It sounds insane. It was like they did offer me green tea, which I'm like, I don't need your Eastern medicine. I want a pill.
Did you go to a doctor?
No, it's a real. He wasn't a doctor. He was a chiropractor who, because my doctor was. Anyways, at the end, they're like, your deductible's $30.